This is Lacoste Match Point Eau de Toilette. This is Lacoste Match Point Eau de Parfum, and this is a haircut about time. Today we're going to be checking out Lacoste Match Point Eau de Parfum. Going to give you my first impressions on it. Going to tell you how it smells, how it compares to the original, if I think it's going to be a worthwhile flanker, and just kind of my general thoughts. So if you're unaware of Lacoste Match Point, that one is a nice, clean, green, semi-herbal, woody type of scent. It's got cashmere, I believe it has basil, it's got just kind of a woodiness, just an overall green aromatic type of feel. It's got a bit of a soapiness. It's just very clean, pleasant, and inoffensive. Not one that's necessarily going to blow you away, but Lacoste does do a good job at creating clean, wearable scents, and they aren't all that expensive either, and that's kind of what Lacoste Match Point Eau de Toilette is. If you want to grab a bottle of Match Point Eau de Parfum for yourself, I will have a link down below to where you can get it at a little bit of a discount. It's still going to be pretty close to retail, but through this discounter they have a code going sometimes where you can get a little bit of money knocked off. That's also where I got Ombre Leather Parfum from this website. They have fast shipping, really good prices on a lot of things, and they tend to get these newer releases in relatively quick. So here is the bottle in all of its glory, brand new, untouched fragrance bottle. Oh, look at that. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? The sticker is severely off-center, like by quite a bit, to the point where that is hard not to unsee. And looking at my Eau de Toilette, they did a pretty good job of getting this one. This one, not so much. That's kind of annoying. That's going to bug me a little bit. This must have been one that was bottled on a Friday or something. Just kind of how it is sometimes, I suppose. Whatever. So that means I'm not going to feel as bad about doing this. Yeah, good old smudge test. You know, I wasn't expecting too much out of that because it is just glass. With a bit of a gradient. I mean, you can see it in the light now that there is some, finger dust on it. We'll call it that. Yeah, it's not going to be too bad. It's not going to be nearly as bad as some others out there with more of a glossy finish where no matter how hard you try, it's going to smudge up. It's just going to be kind of like your typical bottle here. So that's the smudge test. While the sticker placement gets an F, the smudge test gets a B+. It's never going to be as good as a fully painted bottle with a matte finish, but hey, it does the job. Alrighty, now that we got that important stuff out of the way, let's get into what? The second most important thing, the actual scent. Let's get it on skin and see what this smells like. So opening up, you still get that original DNA, surprisingly quite a bit, but with a bit more of a richness. So for me, I'm still picking up on that cashmere woodiness. It's kind of a semi-musky, modern, woody type of smell, very common nowadays. I'm getting this grapefruit that is still, used in the original. I'm picking up on that here in the opening. It's kind of a semi-sweet top note, like a semi-sweet grapefruit, cashmere type of opening. Still has that fresh, clean smell, but just with a bit more of a backbone. There's a bit more substance behind this one. So this one is not yet on Fragrantica, so I'm just going to read the note breakdown off of the official website. Top notes, we have citrus fruits and pink pepper. Mid, we have gentian. Base, we have patchouli. And yeah, this note breakdown is actually worthless. Of course, this is on the official website. They're trying to make it sound fancy. Yeah, let's just kind of go off of this here. Grapefruit, cashmerean for sure, a little bit of pink pepper spiciness, still a little bit of that slightly herbal touch, but I am getting a bit more of a sweetness, and now not so much just from that grapefruit in the opening and maybe a tiny spiciness from the pink pepper, but just a sweetness in here, kind of like an amber, not like, Ambroxan, Dior Sauvage, but just a bit more of a warm amber, kind of hidden in the base. It wouldn't surprise me if they use some sort of toned back kind of a resinous note in here, or even just like a tiny bit of a tonka bean. It's not super powdery, more so than it is just a little bit sweet, The original had a little bit of that semi-sweetness to it as well, but it's just more amped up here. One way you could kind of swing this one is use the original during the day. you're running errands, you're hanging out around the house, that sort of thing. You know, it's kind of refreshing. It's one that can kind of get your energy going if you're kind of not feeling it that day. You know, it has a bit of an uplifting thing about it. It is clean and fresh. It's a really nice compliment getter. It's hard to dislike. It's easy to get along with. That's when you can use the Eau de Toilette. Also good just when it's warmer outside because of the primary freshness that it has. When the evening comes around and you want to just layer something over it, then you can go with something like the Eau de Parfum here, because this does have, you know, a bit more punch to it. There's a bit more going on. You know, it just has a bit more to, I guess, kind of talk about. There's a bit more substance to it, to where you can only say so much about the Eau de Toilette. You know, it's kind of green, aromatic, clean and fresh, that sort of thing. But with this one, I find that it's gonna kind of be a bit more memorable. You know, not that the Eau de Toilette's forgettable. You know, it kind of stands out, but it also kind of blends in as well because there's just not a whole lot going on. This one is to the point where as I'm smelling it, I'm like, you know what? I'm getting a bit more depth out of it. It's a bit more complex than the original, although still not really a complex scent when you compare it up against a lot of other stuff. I just find that it's going to be a bit more appealing if the original bores you. Again, don't get me wrong, this is not going to blow you away most likely, and it's not going to be one that is like your long lost fragrance, like you've been waiting for Match Point Eau de Parfum all your life because this is now the thing that, you know, resonates with you perfectly. It's probably not going to be the case. If it is, awesome, I'm happy for you. Here's your scent. But for most of us, you know, we're going to smell this and think, okay, probably spring and fall use. Maybe winter as well if you wanted it to. Could be kind of a signature scent type of thing, or it could just be a bit more of a evening geared scent in general, regardless of the time of year. You know, it could be something that you just wear, maybe not on a date, but just out to a dinner or just something like that where you still want to be clean and fresh, but with a little bit more of a nighttime edge. Now, one of the main things I'll be excited to check out here is performance. I don't get terrible performance from the Eau de Toilette, but it is an Eau de Toilette after all. So typically with that concentration, you get relatively punchy projection where when you spray it on your skin, it's really going to pop off, especially with some heat on it. Winter, cold weather always kind of knocks that back, but heat does help things to project. So an Eau de Toilette in the heat is always going to do really well. But with that lower concentration of, you know, oils comes typically, not always, but often, lower longevity. May not last on your skin as much. For me, the original is just kind of an average scent, you know, 6-7 hours, whatever, depending on kind of what you're doing in terms of physical activity, if you're sweating it off, temperature, that sort of thing. Many factors, but it's just kind of average. It's so-so. Given that this one is an Eau de Parfum, I would like to see potentially a bit more longevity. Not that you would necessarily need it for a night out scent, but, you know, it is nice to have if you're paying the money to buy a flanker of this. If you already have the original, you want an improvement in some areas. So I would like to see, you know, better longevity, projection. If it's going to be a bit closer to the skin, that's fine. I would think that this might leave a little bit of a better trail. It may linger in the air longer, but it just may not push out, you know, as far of a distance as the Eau de Toilette. That also being said, if you are going to be wearing this in the evening or in the cooler weather, that's also going to hinder the projection on this one a little bit. That's something to keep in mind. So yeah, as it's sitting on my skin right now, still cashmere heavy, still just kind of musk heavy, a bit of a woodiness, still a bit of that sweetness. This is kind of following the path of most modern men's releases, right? Just the woody, aroma chemical, heavy type of scents. You know, we were after Ambroxan for a while, and now we're kind of moving into using ISO-E Super, Cashmere, and just these types of notes, accords, aroma chemicals, and just kind of a just general muskiness. That's kind of what this one is following here. And while it may not be super exciting, it does get the job done. And for the average consumer, this type of thing and the Eau de Toilette, you know, these two are just going to be really attractive. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it for me. That's my first impressions on Match Point Eau de Parfum. What's the deal on this one? What's the verdict? If you like the Eau de Toilette and you want something with a bit more richness and potentially a bit more longevity, although that's to be determined, then you'll be interested in this one, I'm sure. Whether you want to buy it right now at the price it is, it's going to be up to you, but it may be something you'll want to look into in the future. Now, if you weren't really a fan of the original, that's where it's going to be a bit tricky. You're going to have to kind of get down to the bottom of why you don't like the original. If it's just because it is super boring and that DNA just isn't for you, then you're not really going to like this one probably because it's the same DNA, just a bit sweeter. That's probably not going to do it for you. If you don't like the original because it doesn't perform well on your skin, if your skin just absorbs it and it turns to nothing, potentially this may be one that you'll want to check out. So you just kind of have to figure out why it is that you don't like the original, and then that can help guide your purchase on this one. But if you don't like the original because it's a bit boring and bland, then just avoid this one because you're probably going to think it's about the same. So there it is. There's my thoughts on Match Point Eau de Parfum. Guys, remember, if you want to join my channel memberships, do so by hitting the join button down below or go in my video description and hit it there. The link, essentially, you get different perks depending on the tier you choose. So the second tier, you get access to bonus videos and early access to videos like this, and you can also get access to extra giveaways on the memberships in addition to the ones on my main channel on the YouTube stories. And if you go to the top tier, you can get your name featured on the screen at the end of every video, just like these guys right here. Thank you so much for joining me and supporting me and hanging out with me. And what's cool is you also get access to a private Discord. So you can chat with me, you can chat with the other members that are, right here, all the OG cool guys that have joined up first. So if you want to get more personalized advice from myself, you can do so. Chat with me in the Discord. You can also ask the other members. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you out, and we can all have a conversation. At some point, once we get more members in this tier, I'm going to do monthly live streams or semi-regularly live streams. There's just not enough of you right now to really do that or announce it yet. So that'll be a ways down, but as soon as we get a solid group of you guys in there, we'll do some live streams. We can all hop on, hang out. You can ask me anything, all that sort of stuff. I've done them in the past here on the channel, just public, and they're always fun. A lot of people love them. I've been on there for hours before. It's just now that the size of the channel is bigger, that would almost be too many people to really keep up with. And I want to make this more personalized so I can give you personal advice. If there's, a whole bunch of different questions going on all at once, things are going to get missed, and I know people are going to feel left out, and I don't want that to happen. So join up over here. Once we bulk up this membership here, we'll do some live streams and hang out and have some fun. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Stay safe, stay healthy. Let me know if you're excited about Match Point Eau de Parfum down below. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.